invite Dr. Samir Gupta to introduce the speaker, please.
Good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the speaker for the day. The speaker for the day is Dr. Mahendra Bolar, Founder and Medical Director of PIYAS. Just give me 1 second, yes. What is PIYAS? Prajna Institute of Yoga and Allied Sciences, which is India's first NABH accredited yoga and naturopathy hospital based out of Bangalore. It has blended the ancient wisdom with modern science to provide the best treatment for people who need through its unique program, which are totally free from side effects. It believes in providing long-lasting side effects-free and holistic results through its various kinds of health disciplines like yoga, nature cure, meditation, Ayurveda, physiotherapy, acupressure, acupuncture, diet counseling, de-addiction, and de-stress programs. Dr. Mahendra is a living proof of someone who has defeated his own death. Having been diagnosed with a very rare disease during his childhood, the doctors gave him a very little chance of survival. His curiosity to cure his own disease led him to becoming a doctor. He has been working for the last 25 years as a consultant pathologist and hematologist in Bangalore. He also runs several diagnostic centers of his own. After he met his wife, Dr. Neetu Jain, he has led a naturopathic lifestyle and has not taken a single medicine since then. That's a long time. Though an MBBS doctor, he strongly believes that medicines have a limited role in health and most diseases can be tackled with help of elements of nature. He is actively involved in promotion research activities in the field of yoga, naturopathy, and stress management. Dr. Bolar works closely with Hemophilia Society of India. He's a doctor by profession and done his master's in pathology. His thesis on clinical hematology studies of leukemia was done as a part of NB pathology and declared the best thesis of the term, attached to Curie Center of Oncology, and thus got a chance to do a fair amount of oncology work. He also has gone further training at the College of American Pathologists Laboratory Accreditation Program. He has worked as a consultant pathologist almost across the entire city in several labs. Some among them are the Jubilee Diagnostic Center, the Kanva Diagnostic, the Ragwa Diagnostic, Apollo Clinic Malleshwaram, and the Manav Charitable Hospital. He's also been an entrepreneur and set up independent high-end laboratory diagnostic services under the flagship of Maitri Diagnostics Private Limited at Brookfield Hospital on ITPL Main Road. He has played a major role in setting up a high-tech diagnostic center, which is the Isha Diagnostics in Malleshwaram, Bangalore. He's also started HistoCare Group of Laboratories as a managing partner in 2002. Among his several recognitions that he has received the Hemophilia Award for the Best Twin of the Year by WFH, awarded scholarship under the National Scholarship Scheme, Government of India 86-88. He has been invited in November 2008 to the Henry Ford Hospital, Detroit, as a part of the International Training Program, and also participated in the 60th National Hemophilia Conference at Denver, Colorado. I invite Dr. Mahendra to come and address us.
Thank you, Samir. Mahendra has been my pathologist for almost 15 years when I was in the diagnostic and diagnostic imaging business and oncology business directly. Now we have a hands-off relationship. But moving away from pathology to naturopathy is something with a story which has always intrigued me, and is an opportunity for me to invite Mahendra to listen to this story. Mahendra, are you there? Welcome.
Speaker is off.
Yeah, good evening, everybody.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, thank you for a very, very generous introduction of mine. I don't know whether I really deserve it or not, but yes, I have tried to do my bit for whatever number of years I've worked in pathology. I mean, I still work in pathology. I mean, I'm still a pathologist at the core. But yes, now my work in hemophilia and naturopathy has taken a little precedence over that. And thanks, Mr. Ravi Narasimhan, for having invited me here on this forum. And I see some very, very intellectual and lovely people here. So I think we will going to have a very exciting evening.
Definitely, sir.
Is the moderator getting the program to kick off, or where is it?
Yeah. We're good to go.
Please, go ahead.
I request you to mute your mic. Thank you. Sir, as mentioned to you a little earlier, we will delve into a little bit about who you are as a person before we get into what you do and how you've come to become the person that you are. So tell us a bit about the beginning of your journey, sir. I mean, tell us a bit about your childhood and the environment in which you grew up, and some of the values that have stayed with you that are still, important to you today. Tell us a bit about that.
I was born in a very traditional Jain family and had a very normal childhood, up until about 8 or 9 years of age. When I had some health issues, then one thing led to the other. And in about a year, I spent almost a year going to different doctors. Almost every pediatrician in the town, I had seen them, not just here in Chennai and Mumbai. And after about 1.5 years, I got finally diagnosed by one Dr. HN, this thing in HN Memorial Hospital in Mumbai. And finally, they diagnosed me as a Budd-Chiari syndrome, which was quite an unheard of problem for me. I mean, it was for such a young child, it was a really big issue. And I had almost all the complications along with that by the age of 9, which goes along with that hypersplenism and thrombocytopenia, and a massive splenomegaly and portal hypertension and all things which go with the Budd-Chiari thing. So I started having them. I didn't know what was happening to me. The only two things which I knew was that I used to bleed very often. Anytime I get little hurt, I used to bleed very often. And that's why I was restricted from all my physical activities. And the turning point actually came. And till then, I always wanted to be an astronomer. I'm an astrophysicist. Carl Sagan was like my godfather. I still love that guy. I mean, give me a chance and I'll still run back to astrophysics. So that was what I always wanted to become. But when I was in, say, about second PU, about 15, 16 years old, I used to see my Dr. Shanai, a very reputed surgeon. I think a lot of old Bangaloreans would know him, Dr. R.H.N. Shanai. So he was my treating doctor. So I used to visit him. And one of the trips which I had gone to them started asking me a lot of questions. So then he told me, okay, young man, if you have so many queries, why you yourself don't become a doctor? So you will know things better. So I came home and thought, okay, why not? I mean, what is selling is not wrong. So I just came home and announced that I want to become a doctor. Everyone at home knew that doctor is not for me. Nobody in my family is a doctor. Never. Nobody in my circle was a doctor for that matter. So my dad told, okay, fine. You want to become a doctor? Be one. But only thing is, I'm not going to buy you a seat. You have to get your seat. So that's when I took it up. Okay, yes, let me do something and get into this. And I got a state rank in 10th. I got a 12th state rank. I wrote the second CET examination for medical entrances. So I got a rank there, and then I got my seat, and then one led to the other, and here I am today.
Lovely. I think that's a very inspiring story for a lot of people who aspire to be something, and in that quest of wanting to know more, have taken up something as important as studying medicine, and gone on to have done things like you have in life. Apart from the health motivations and the questions that you had as a child, with regard to the different things that you can tackle with medicine, tell us a bit more about your profession, sir. I mean, what is it that really appeals to you about being a doctor and now moving from traditional medicine to the kind of medicine that you're doing right now, which is pretty cutting edge? Tell us a bit about that.
You know what? When I came out of the medical school, I was like most other doctors, and get hardcore into this practice. But then I chose pathology and hematology as my subject because most of my problems were related to blood. I mean, platelets and those kind of things, So it was a natural thing for me to get into that. So I chose that subject. And then I started working with a lot of organizations doing similar kind of work. And that's where my association with Hemophilia Society, which is a genetic bleeding disorder, So we run a center in Davangere where we take care of almost 550 children. And hemophilia is a very, very rare disease. I mean, it's a very, very expensive disease to treat also. So through this NGO, we are taking care of 550 children, and I'm associated with them for almost 25 years now. And we have done a lot of work, and that has taken me to places. I mean, we visited Henry Ford, where we told what we are doing for those people. Then I led one program, a twinning program, which was done in collaboration with the Alderway Children's Hospital in Liverpool, UK. And that program actually won the Best Twin of the Year award, which we got from World Federation of Hemophilia in Melbourne in 2014. Because in that program, the first time somebody tried some alternate therapy like yoga and naturopathy for pain management in hemophiliacs. Till then, it was never ever true. I mean, everything was about medical management. Everything was about factors and all that. The first time we did a 10-patient study where we proved that yoga and naturopathy can help in pain management in hemophiliacs. And that was very, very well received by World Federation. And they actually made a special mention of it in the citation. So that actually gave me an idea that yes, there is some crux in it. And of course, for the last 22 years, I have been following this.
Okay.
My wife is a naturopath and a yoga therapist, basically. And she has been doing her job for the last 30 years or so. She has been practicing. Her family is very unique in the sense they have not taken any medicines for the last 70 years, 4 generations. 0 medicines, they don't even get vaccinated. No vaccines also. For the last 70 years, 4 generations.
Wow.
That actually made me think there should be something in that for them to do so much and still not have any great diseases. And almost the whole family, 4 generations, are quite healthy, every which way. And they've done quite well, even every area of the this thing, whether it's financially or health wise or education wise. Their children study in some of the best schools in the world. One is graduating from UC Berkeley, one is a Liverpool graduate from DC. She has done a master's in law. I told something must be there in their upbringing or the way nature has brought them up. So then I started exploring about this. And that's when I had a lot of reading to do because I am an avid reader. So I spent a lot of time reading and getting to know about it. And then as time came by, then I thought we should do something more unique. So let's blend this, my core knowledge, with what I am getting to know now. And can we come out with something more unique for the world? Because, there are certain good things here, certain good things there. Can we marry this and bring out something more unique, which we can give it to the world? And that's when this journey started. And I made a little shift into this. And I call myself to that extent as an integrative medicine practitioner. I don't call myself as a yoga or naturopath or anything because I don't have a formal education in that. But I call myself as an integrative medicine practitioner. So where I try to use my medical knowledge or scientific knowledge and make some sense of what is happening in yoga and naturopathy, because we are more tuned to evidence-based, scientific based that way.
So, sir, when you say integrated medicine, it is a little intriguing for me because I would like to know what, according to you, does the concept of health begin with? I mean, where does it start? Is it a body-based thing? Is it a mind-based thing? Or, is it something to do with, the being of a person? Does it start at some other level apart from the mind and the body? Tell us a bit about that.
See, we call ourselves as holistic healers, and holistic as WH holistic. So that means when your whole being is healthy is when you are really holistically healthy. And the whole being encompasses a lot of areas of a lot of layers of our existence. The most gross thing which we see is the physical level. The gross thing which you see is the physical level. But even by WHO definition wise, you should be mentally healthy, physically healthy, and emotionally healthy. Right. But we take it a little more further. We include even emotionally healthy and spiritually healthy. Okay. And other aspects also to include in it. So when the person is really healthy in all these aspects, then definitely you can call him as a holistic health. And as modern science, what I have understood, the most focus is on physical health and to a little extent on mental health. But all of us experientially know Okay, it is not, it is much deeper than that. Okay, unless you don't work at the deeper layers, which according to our Ayurveda or according to our nature cure, if we call it Panchakoshas. And the most gross level is the Annamaya Kosh. Then as you go deeper, Manomaya and Pranamaya, and then those koshas, unless you don't work deeper levels, you actually cannot find a long-term solution or a cure for the disease. You can do a symptomatic treatment, but yes, only on the physical level. See, for example, one simple thing I will tell you. Whenever you have some infection in the system, right, you get fever.
Yeah.
Our immediate reaction is to bring down the fever, because fever is uncomfortable for everybody. So we take a paracetamol or a dolo and try and bring down the fever, right? That's our immediate thing. But the body's intelligence works very differently. The body had brought up your core temperature of your body because at that temperature, a lot of organisms, especially certain bacteria and viruses, cannot multiply. If not dead, at least they cannot multiply. They cannot multiply at that core temperature. So naturally, the infection will get under control.
Right.
What we do something contrary to it. When we bring down the temperature, actually are making situation conducive for it to multiply faster. So we jokingly say, if you have cold and fever, if you take treatment, it will just go away in 1 week. And if you don't take treatment, it will last for 7 days. So it's your choice. If you don't want to take treatment, it will last for 7 days. But if you take treatment, it will go away in a week. So choose what you want. It's a perception.
Right.
It's a perception. So most of the times, 5 to 7 days is the time, whether you take medicine or not, it goes away. Okay. So once you start being in sync with the body's intelligence, the body, how the nature works here. See, one simple dictum is that human body is designed to be healthy. In fact, if you ask me, it is very, very difficult to get diseases. Very difficult to become unhealthy, because you have to have years of indisciplined life, years of wrong food habits, years of thinking wrong, years of stress actually to start having diseases. Health is a very natural state.
Okay.
You just have to remove the obstructions. You should not become an obstruction to that. And naturally health comes. Naturally health comes. And yes, one of the most of our programs are designed to make you realize that and provide you the tools and techniques and the platform for you to get to that level again back. So we, in medical terms, we call it as a homeostasis. Okay. So to bring you back to that homeostatic state.
So, sir, since you're saying that it's very difficult for people to actually sort of become unhealthy, and it takes years of wrongdoing to sort of get there. I understand that, it's a lot to do with a person's lifestyle or the way they think or the way in which they approach, different aspects of their life, like their career or their personal life. But if I were to sort of, come to you with advice on how to sort of be the healthiest version of myself. I don't have any health problems as of today, but if I want to sort of, be even healthier than I am, how do I start? Where do I start?
Generally what happens is that what we do, our approach is that we initially spend a lot of time with the person.
Okay.
We try to understand him completely from 360 degrees. What kind of a person he is, what kind of a life he leads, what kind of food he eats, what is his activity level, what are his relationships. We have a very, very detailed discussion with him. Because what we think is that, and our approach is that our approach is not disease-centric. It is person-centric.
Right.
We try and treat the person, not the disease.
Right.
Diseases are incidental. So we spend a lot of time in understanding the person, and then the program is designed accordingly, keeping in mind what he needs. To that extent, if there are 2 diabetics or 2 hypertensives, they may not have the same program because their lifestyles are different, their needs are different, the ages are different, their food habits are different. So we have to take all those things into account. You cannot have one solution fits all here. It has to be made for every person. You have to understand the person and give a solution to him. See, for example, like this is what it's very, very contrary to medicine. See, in medicine, a child who is about 10 years old and weighing about 40 kgs will take 400 milligrams of paracetamol, right? And a person who is 100 kgs and say about 60 years old will also take 400 milligrams paracetamol. How do you think it can work the same in both systems? So, but that's generalization. Science cannot function very well if you don't generalize things. But in life, many times you have to have customizations. So there are certain areas where we do, and that's why we take a complete evaluation of the person and then design a program accordingly. A lot of people who come to us are already having a lot of issues and they are already on multiple medications. So what we do is we never take anybody immediately off any medications.
Mm-hmm.
They continue with that, but yes, with an aim within the next 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, depending on the chronicity of the disease, depending on their readiness, depending on the sincerity, and depending on how much they can put in. We wean them off, we handhold them and wean them off those medications one by one, by adding these other elements to it. So we try and make this process very smooth for them, and which is easy for them. And once they learn these things, the other things, then it becomes a part of their life, and then it becomes more permanent. Like very jokingly, I tell people, okay, see, what we are trying to teach you is earn money. And what you were doing till now is borrow money from the bank, from somebody else. So borrowed money will have to be returned today or tomorrow.
Correct.
What you have earned will stay with you. So these things, what you're doing will stay with you forever. The other things, your reliance on medicines, I'm not telling they're wrong. Yes, you have to resort to them certain times. But our experience here tells that almost 80% of the times you can manage most of your issues by these things only. By doing these things, that yes, there will be 10-15% times when you have to resort to medications, you have to get some procedures done, but they are not as, they'll be far and few in between. They'll not be as rampant as we are schooled to believe. See, for example, about this virus also, or any virus for that matter, not forgetting this COVID virus, any viruses. See, at home also we have seen seasonally, if there are 10 members in the house, 2 or 3 of them will get flu. The other people don't get. Right. Why? If virus is the reason, everyone should have got it. But this virus is incidental. We are the reason. My immunity was down at that time, so the virus could affect me, or the bacteria could affect me. So the working should have been on me rather than on the bacteria or the virus. So we are looking at it from the wrong end.
Right.
Yeah.
But with regard to allopathy, when a person is, let's say, contracted some sort of a virus, and you try to treat that virus, and it becomes important to treat that virus immediately. How do you balance out between treating the virus and treating the person? Because treating the person is a more long-term process at that point.
See, it depends on the situation. Yes. Okay, if a person has come to you with already some issues, then we do 2 things. We do. Okay, yes, normally body's immediate response is to handle that virus. Like we have seen even this COVID, a lot of people, almost 80% of the people are asymptomatic. Why? Because their immunity is able to handle it, tackle it, and not cause too much issues. So we see how you can improve that process of immunity or tackling of that virus, or how to improve your response of your body to tackle that situation. 1. Second, how can you avoid getting those repeat episodes? So what can you do from the long-term perspective? So both things happen. Yes, immediately we have to take care, and then later on what to do in the long term. That also we need to handle that.
So it is a sort of a hand-in-hand relationship between the different schools of medicine.
Absolutely. See, here what we do is that, see, like I told you, we never take them off any medications immediately. But yes, with an idea that eventually you will have, we will help you to get out of it if you are willing. But if you're okay, say, no, I'm fine with it, and that's fine, it's okay. Then you add on this and start having a little better life. But yes, if you have an idea, okay, yes, I want to get off them, then we have a process for that. So that is one thing which we do. Second thing is that how can you, like I told you, 80% of the problems can be handled naturally. Yes, there are a lot of procedures, even in naturopathy, even in yoga, in acupuncture and all that, which can hasten the healing process, which can bring down the symptoms, which can help you handle the symptoms better. So those can be resorted to, those can be added on to your therapeutic regimen. So we do both of it. But yes, in our center, what we do is that when I say that we have a very evidence-based or a very scientific-based practice, because you know what, young generation, they want evidence for everything. Like if a diabetic comes to me and I start treating him, within a month, he gets a lot of benefit. But how does he make out? Feeling is not what you can into numerical thing. So you have to resort to sugar levels or doing an HbA1c test and demonstrate to him that there is a reduction in his levels. And then he gets more faith in it, and then he gets motivated and he tries to do better. So to that extent, we accept all that. We make it as a part of our protocols, those kind of things. Because numbers, statistics is what appeals people, is what people are these things. But unfortunately, what has happened is that in modern science, what we have done is that anything which is numerically or statistically definable has been given more importance. For example, blood pressure can be measured, cholesterol levels can be measured, sugar can be measured. So more important. Something like stress cannot measure. Something like happiness cannot measure. So those things which we cannot measure, we have conveniently ignored it from our management protocols. And which can measure, we have given only importance to that. All of us know when we get stressed up, our BP increases. But is there a way to measure it? No. So we conveniently forget it. But here we give equal importance to all that and say, okay, yes, these are a part of your therapeutic regimen.
Sir, if there are a few, I hate to use the word, but I'm going to use the word tips. Okay, if there are a few tips that you would like to give to the younger generation of today to try and look at health in a different way, what would you say?
Again, generalizing would be very difficult. Generalizing is common knowledge, which is mostly known to everybody. Yes, but yes, there are certain things in certain areas where we can generally tell them, okay, yes, these are the certain things which you can do. For example, few things which we have noticed in people, and correction of those can add a lot of value. Very, very simple things is that what we've seen is that slow and mindful eating can do wonders for people. Slow and mindful eating, there's a big science behind it. I will not go deep into it because that itself might take up a lot of time. But slow eating has got a lot of benefits apart from better digestion and all that, it helps you to eat right amount actually. Because at the right time, your satiety center gets activated when you eat slowly and mindfully. That's a big, big thing which we noticed. A lot of people don't do that. Most of us don't do that. Either we are having lunch or dinner while watching TV or on the mobile or while working and stuff like that, So that is one thing which we try and correct about all these people. We give a lot of importance to slow and mindful eating. If you don't have time, it's better you don't eat, but don't eat in a hurry. You don't eat, that's fine. Your body will accept it better, but don't eat in a hurry. Second is the amount of water intake. Okay. Most of the times we have seen people don't drink enough water, especially when they spend a lot of time in the air conditions and all that, In fact, when you spend time in air conditioning, you need at least 400 to 300 to 500 ml more water intake than normal person. So that is another thing. But yes, the right way to drink water. There's a proper way in which you should drink water. So that is another thing which we try and tell. Basically, what you do on a daily basis, a slight correction and awareness of those things itself can add a lot of value. 3 things are which you do on a daily basis. We have some activity on a daily basis, like walking or doing some certain tasks and all that. Second, we breathe every day, right? Nobody can survive without that. Third is we eat every day. So these 3 things, if corrected and done in the right perspective, itself can add a lot of value. You don't have to do anything extraordinary. But these 3 things properly corrected and done can do a lot of good to you. So we try and focus on these kind of activities for people, especially younger generation or techie generations. They say we don't have time. If you have to spend 15 hours in the office, 14 hours on the chair and all that, no problem. You don't have time, no issues. At least you can spare 3 minutes every day, every hour. 3 to 5 minutes every hour you can spray. We have practices. We call them anytime, anywhere practices, 88Ws. So you can do those practices and gain the same benefit over the day, which you can do by doing maybe a 1 hour or some exercise regimen or something like that. So we have a lot of customized practices for those kind of thing. And we have some programs where we can train you for that also. We have a 3-day residential program specifically for all these kind of things, to make you aware of that. What is the right way to eat? What is the right thing to eat? What is the right method to eat? And what is the right way to simple activities like doing. See, breathing is so natural to all of us, but our observation of people who have come here, and we have observed thousands of people, 95 to 98% of the people don't have the right rhythm while breathing, which should be so natural. Okay. Most of them have their breathing wrong. And sometimes it takes us 3 to 6 months to correct their breathing patterns. People don't even realize that simple things. And once that pattern gets corrected and the right rhythm comes, a lot of changes starts happening in the system. So we focus on many such smaller things, aspects, which are more not given too much importance elsewhere, or not really thought about another things. And that's where we talk about customization.
Is there something that I can do, or a place where I can try and read something about, or go and look up information about?
Yeah, we are there on social media. We have our website, piyas.org, PIYAS.org. That's Prajna Institute of Yoga and Allied Sciences. And incidentally, it was mentioned earlier also, we are India's first private NABH accredited yoga and naturopathy hospital. In fact, when we applied in 2018, there were no norms available for naturopathy and yoga in NABH. We were one of the first to actually help them to get onto it, and we were the first to complete that whole process. We got our NABH in 2019 actually, and so that's one place where you can go and get some. We are active on. We have posted a lot of videos on YouTube. You can visit Piyas Yoga. If you type on YouTube, you can have an access to a lot of our videos. We have demonstrated some breathing exercises for insomnia, anxiety disorders, many other things, COVID related, patients' experiences, many such things are covered there. A third is we are not so much active, but yes, we are there on Facebook. So we keep posting certain health related things. So people can follow that also and do that. And of course, they can walk into our center. We are in the heart of Bangalore in Chamarajpet. They can walk into and have a chat with any of us anytime, just like that. I mean, they need not come as a patient. They can just come as a curious thing. We have one of the most unique and the loveliest building in this part of the town. I mean, our building has won more than 20 green building awards. It is worth seeing. I think everyone should visit it once, just for the sake of seeing what can be created in the midst of a city. We are in the heart of Chamarajpet on the 5th main road. We have about 6,000 to 7,000 plants inside our building.
Wow.
6,000 to 7,000 plants inside our building. And our hospital is about more than 3 years old now. This particular entity is about 3 years old. I think it's worth a visit for everybody. They should come in, and we would love to have you here and explain to you in more detail about the concept of what we do and how we do it that way.
I must say that I've had the good fortune of at least coming outside and having a look at the building. It is marvelous indeed. Mm-hmm. Sir, I'm going to bring you now towards something that's inevitable to talk about today. We simply cannot ignore our current backdrop. So with regard to that, I'm going to be asking you about what a COVID positive patient, apart from regular isolation, medication, rest, and all of that, can do to sort of improve their immunity and get back to normal. What do you suggest as a naturopathy expert?
In fact, we had an opportunity to directly treat more than 2,000 COVID patients. Though we don't take any patients inside the hospital, neither do we have any face-to-face consultations. We do online and video consultations for them. Mm-hmm. That we have been following since last year, March, when COVID started in India. We have been doing that. So online video consultations we do. We have designed our own protocols, which we share with them to follow. Some videos along with that, which we share with those people, and they do it. And I'm very happy to share that almost 98 to 99% of the people we have handled have done extremely well. And very, very few of them had any kind of complications, if any. And if most of them were all either very old age, or they had some really bad comorbid conditions and they had to get hospitalized later on. But still, most of them recovered. So we have some protocols made for that. I can share one small flyer with you later on, which you can probably share it there, where we are very concisely tried to see symptoms wise what basic things which you can do in any household for that matter, along with whatever you're doing. Generally, again, the same dictum we follow here. Whatever medicines they are taking, we generally tell them not to get off those medications as much as possible. But with a few alterations we do, we tell them not to take any paracetamol or a dolo if the fever is below 100. Because many a times what I have seen is that if initially, as soon as little feverishness starts and they start taking dolo, then they will never ever really come to know when the temperature fever ends. And sometimes it's very critical for COVID management to know how long the fever has lasted. Because if it lasts beyond 5 days, then there are certain things which you need to do. You need to trigger certain things in terms of investigations or certain different medications, So we need to know about that. But if they are under cover of paracetamol and dolo, that gets missed many times. So we generally tell them if it is less than 100, generally try and not to take medicine. If it goes beyond that, then you can take it. So that's one thing which we try and tell them. Second important thing which we have noticed is again hydration. Very, very good hydration from day one ends in excellent results. But when a person is feverish, not keeping well, that's one thing, his taste goes away and all, it doesn't feel like drinking water. But that one thing can add a lot of value. We generally tell them if they don't have any conditions with restrict active use of water like kidney disease or heart issues and all, we generally tell them to have at least minimum 3 to 4 liters of water every day. And that tremendously helps. Even now, WHO is also recommending that because the clot formation tendencies greatly decrease when you're not dehydrated. So that's another thing which we add. And first 3 days, if they can be on very light food than what they normally take, and take good amount of rest, that gives the body a lot of time to heal. And first 3 to 5 days are the most critical actually. And once you do these things properly, then very good chances that you will come out of it very, very safely, which has been our experience that way. And of course, medically, there are too many things, but I better leave it to doctors to take decisions and that when to start steroids and when to start any antivirals, if at all, and stuff like that, because too early or too late also doesn't make any too much sense. That way. But that's left to expert and treating doctors. I mean, it may not be a very good idea to discuss in general.
Sure, sir. I completely agree. But, like you said, this is in interest of the public and in crying need of a few people, in fact. So thank you for that. I will ask you about one other group, sir. What you mentioned as high-risk groups and, senior citizens, people whose immunity is usually a little lower than the average person. What would you advise them to do in such cases to sort of build their immunity? I mean, yes, they're sort of taking all the precautions that they can. They're not moving out of their houses. They're, eating clean, good food and sort of keeping a good routine. But what apart from that would you advise them?
See, one very important, but I don't know whether how that taken is, that very, very important thing is anxiety and fear.
Okay.
Because once our mind starts thinking of something, the body starts making it happen. And that's one of the things which we have seen in a lot of people who have complications. They had very, very early stage, they start getting very anxious about the disease. So one of the best things which you do, though I may take a lot of them tell it jokingly, but I'm pretty serious about it. If we stay away from WhatsApp and there's our Google updates or news for some time, it will do us a lot of good. In fact, it will do us a lot of good. One. Second, during such times, you should maintain a very, very healthy routine, a very disciplined and healthy routine, of doing certain activities on a certain, like whether it be walking or right timing of the food, morning, evening. And at such times, never ever ignore your regular medications. If you're diabetic or on medications, make sure that you take your medications on right time so that this thing is under control. Whether you are an hypertensive or any other thing, your regular medication should carry on just like that in a routine way. And whatever other things are there are all apart from that, additional to that. So that's this thing, another thing which we have seen. Third thing which we have seen is that a little exposure to sunlight every day, especially for old people, can do a lot of good. And there is a good science behind it. I mean, sunlight actually increases nitric oxide levels in your system, which acts as a vasodilator, which does a lot of good to your system. Apart from our routine things, like you get vitamin D, which actually boosts up your immunity. All those things are fine. But even it's a mood elevator also, sunshine. It's a mood elevator. So if it is possible and if it is there, expose yourself to sun at least 15 to 20 minutes every day. We generally advise to do it between 6 and 9 in the morning, or if you cannot, at least 4 and 6 in the evening. So that also can do. Spend some time talking to people, reading some good books, watching some good movies and stuff like that, instead of doing all that. Basically follow a very healthy routine. And I'll see, I don't know whether I can share that with you, and if somebody is interested, they can take it from you. We have a very, very nice dinacharya made for people, which can be followed whether you're COVID or not, like when you get up in the morning, 6 o'clock, what you need to do. Right. Taking this, and then 6:30, what you need to do, 7 o'clock, what you need to do, what should you have in breakfast, preferably, what in lunch, and then what do in the daytime, some practices and all. And we have linked it to different videos. I can share that dinacharya to you. Yeah, a person can modify it as they need it. That's based on their realities or based on their need and the availability. So they can modify it a bit here and there. But that's a good start point for somebody. If somebody is interested, they can start from there. Definitely. Good rest is also very, very critical for good healing and coming out of this. So if you get a good rest, good night sleep, that can do wonders for you.
Now, speaking of rest, the whole youngster population, I'm not going to get into the numbers over here because I might get in trouble, but a lot of us have a tendency to sort of sleep late. I do that because I feel that I work better and I think better in the night, and which pushes my sleep time to very late. So what would you ask us to do in terms of rest?
See, for a normal, yeah, you were telling something?
Yes, sir. What do you think is the right time to sleep, and how much of rest is usually advised?
I mean, that's no rocket science. All of us know that. But yes, there isn't circadian rhythm built in our system, which you call as the biological clock or something. Mm-hmm. If you go exactly by that clock, which most of the things in nature follow that. Most of the animals, birds, plants, everything in nature follows that. It's only us humans who use our intelligence and go contrary to it many times for a variety of reasons. We have our own logics, own alibis. We can give these things to it. But yes, as the sun rises is when most of your activities should reach a crescendo. As per the biological clock, it works. Because your digestive system, your other system, your nervous system, your mind system, everything is working at the best during that hours. And as the day wanes off, that's when the activity should wind up. And I mean, there are plenty of examples worldwide, great achievers. Most of them were very early risers. They start their day pretty early. And they start by, like in our culture, there's a concept of Brahma Muhurat.
Right.
Anything done in Brahma Muhurat, you do it the best. And that is between 4:30 and 6. And that's why, when we were children also, our parents used to wake us up early morning, 4 o'clock or 4:30 and make us study. Because whatever done at that time actually gets more hardwired in the brain, and whatever you take in at that time actually goes in. And it's a fact also, to an extent, it's a fact. Because of the variety of reasons, I mean, the way the energy levels are aligned to your own body and all that, Mm-hmm. So typically that's the better thing. Generally, what we believe is that at least you should get up one pair, means at least 48 minutes before the actual sunrise. Okay. Is when you should actually start your day. Right? And then once the sunset is done, then 2 pairs after that, 96 minutes after that, you should typically end your day. So which is typically, say, if the sunset is by 6:30, then about 8 o'clock or 8:30 should be the end of your day. Like that. Normally, a normal human being with normal activities and normal need and a good health would need about between 6 and 8 hours of rest, or would sleep rather, in that deep or whatever that will be come. But 6 to 8 hours is typically what is needed by most of the people. Yeah, but then that depends on the age also. If you are too young age, you may need more. If you're very old age, you may eat less, and variety of factors are there. But that's typically, that's what is the range.
Coming to another aspect of health and lifestyle, there's this whole fitness revolution that's going on. A lot of people are resorting to a lot of different types of physical exercise, but don't really understand how to go about it, and they don't really have a clear goal as to what to achieve. They just want to look like somebody, or they want to feel like a certain self that they were a couple of years ago. Tell us a bit about that, sir. I mean, because I think that is also one of the other causes that is leading to a lot of health issues, which are sometimes irreversible as well. So please throw a little bit of light about that.
See, physical activity is needed for human existence, zero doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
Physical activity is needed. But yes, like everything else, it has to be in moderation.
Okay.
So an individual self has to decide what is right for him. I mean, what is right for me may not be right for Achit or right for somebody else. So we have to take a call of what is right for me. One. Second, if you ask me, beyond a certain age, when you are young, yes, you can indulge in that. Beyond a certain age, nothing else. But if you want to keep it very safe and simple and also healthy, walking is the best. If you are an avid runner, and then that's fine. That's a totally different domain. I mean, that's got a lot of the benefits of its own, a lot of minuses of its own. But I mean, let's not get into that. But yes, 40 to 60 minutes regular walking is good for any average individual in a day. Done once a day, one stretch, or cut into 2 morning and evening, that's also fine. Ask me. My take is that, yes, there are a lot of people who argue with me, and I have had these discussions with many people. This thing is that human system is not made for running. Present human system is not made for running, because we never have a need like animals for the flight response. So running is not natural to humans. Walking is natural to humans. Running, you have to train yourself for that. Yes, for a specific purpose, for a specific competition and all, if you're wanting to get into it, that's a different story. But I'm talking of in general. So anything which you, in moderation, which you don't really push your boundaries, that's fine. I mean, yeah, unless you have a very different purpose and you want to do it for that, then it's a very, very different ball game. I mean, then this doesn't come into picture here.
Right. I'm going to bring our attention towards food a little bit. I'm not going to ask you about what we should and shouldn't eat, but there is this whole stigma attached to the Indian diet, right? People are usually scared about the fact that there's too much of fat in the food, or there's too much of carbohydrates in the food. How do we go about that, sir? I mean, what do you think is ideally the right mix of food that an average individual should have? Is there a requirement for a lot of one particular type or a category of food? Throw a little bit of light about that, sir.
See, if there are special situations, you need special diets. Yes, the special situations or special conditions demand certain special things.
Okay.
So that's a one-off thing.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, if you ask me, like a lot of our patients come and ask, okay, what should we eat? What should we, this is right, this fruit, that fruit, this fruit, and all that. So I give them very, very 3 simple rules to follow for their diets. You go to the market, whatever is cheapest, buy it. Okay. Because it will be only cheap when it is seasonal. If it is not seasonal, it will be expensive because it will have to be. Second, it will be cheap only if it has been grown local area within, say, 50 kilometers of where you stay. If it has to be transported, then it will become expensive. Third thing is eat what your parents or your grandparents ate. That's the right food for you. For example, if my parents have eaten primarily wheat, then wheat is good for me. Yeah. If I have come and stayed here down south, then over a generation, my children will get used to rice. But I have started eating a lot of rice along with it. So my generation will be more tuned to rice.
Right.
So eat what your parents or your grandparents eat, and that is the right grain, or that is the right primary grain for you. So if you follow these three simple rules, generally you cannot go wrong.
Okay.
Generally you cannot go wrong. I mean, grossly, yes, there are times when we want to indulge, when we have to have fancy things. That's all fine. That's all acceptable. There's nothing strict about it. One. Second, your food should match your age and your activity level. See, the mistake which we do in most of our households is that we have a 10-year-old kid in the house and we have a 70-year-old grandpa in the house. But the food which is cooked is the same for everybody in the kitchen. Is the requirement of the child and the grandpa same?
No.
No. But still, one kind of food and everybody eats the same food. So we need to make this differentiation. And to an extent, get that into our kitchens also, one. Second, as per age also. As per age and time also, we need to change our food habits. What we used to eat 20 years earlier is the same food which are you eating even today, and with the same food which you'll be eating 20 years later also. So our food habits are not driven by our need. They are driven by our habitual patterns.
Correct.
It's more of an habit for us. Okay, this is what we have been doing and this is what we continue to do. But no, the body's needs and requirements change. And if we become little aware, and that's where I talked about mindful eating and slow eating. Once we start doing that, then your body starts asking for the right food. And it will take in only the right food. You don't have to really put in any great efforts for that. Okay.
That makes a lot of sense, sir. I think a lot of people are making points of what you're telling us, because it's very practical advice and can be followed at home as well. I'm going to bring our focus back to PIYAS. The Utsav program that you've designed. Tell us a bit about that. What was the thought behind that, and how do you go about it? Because in a few other cases, I've come across your center in Ooty as well. So what do you do there, and how do you switch between the two centers?
You know what? Earlier the thing was that, Kiki, see, one of the reasons why we wanted to create this center was twofold. Okay, one thing is that till then, what has happened in
Jewels group.
Pa, I think your mic is not muted.
So what we have done sorry, I lost the.
Sorry, sir. Let me. Yeah, this is about Ooty and Bangalore and.
Yeah, right. See, yeah, the most of the people who used to come to us for treatments in earlier times, but mostly people who have tried everything for last 10 years, 20 years. They have taken n number of medicines, diabetes, still uncontrolled. They've taken BP medications, heart problems, and they have undergone bypass surgeries and stentings and still not keeping good health. And say, okay, let us try naturopathy also. Let us try Ayurveda also. And those kind of people used to come to us. So they were already pretty chronic and on a lot of medications. And they had absolutely no exposure to what yoga and naturopathy was all about. Yeah. And when you make a sudden jump or a leap, it's very, very difficult for people to adopt it. And most of the times what happens is that they do it for a few days and then drop it off. Then say, no, it's not for me. I cannot do it. It has not helped me. And those kind of things, So it was the fault that they came at the wrong time, one. Second, nobody guided them that it can be done in a graded way, and they wanted to take that big leap. So what we thought that, Kiki, if we can train people or at least make people aware at a very early on age, give them an insight. It's like a trailer.
Okay.
Give them an insight of what they can do right with their life in terms of food, in terms of practices, in terms of thinking patterns, in terms of small practices and variety of those things. How can they design their day? How can they learn something which they can use, what I call as tools and techniques or we generally tend to use that word in our this thing. Everything is available in nature. You just don't have the password. We are here to give you that password. So once we give you that password, you have an access to all that which the nature has to provide to you, or which we don't do anything. It's basically, we just provide you the platform. We provide you the tools and techniques and the password for you to gain access to all that. So that's exactly what we do here. So this Utsav program, it's a 3-day residential program specifically designed for this purpose, to make them aware of what this is, what is the right way of eating food, what is the right way of doing things, what is the right way of practicing. And we take them through a practical sessions of all these things, give them an insight into all this. So 3 days they undergo all this practice. But there are certain practices which have been specifically designed for that program. There are a lot of, we call it emotional management technique, EMT practices are there, which we call as special practices. Yeah. Plus there are certain lectures on modern medicine, which I generally lead, and trying to tell them to what they have been doing with their system or with their body or with their problems till now, and how, if it has not helped them, why it has not helped them. See, the very fact that somebody has come to that program and wants to know some alternate way of living, or wants to know whether that means to say somewhere they are disillusioned with what they are doing right now. What they were doing has not helped them completely, and that's why they're trying to look for alternatives. So that's a good start. So we try and tell them why it has not helped what they're doing. So I go into the depth, the scientific part of it, because I have the privilege of knowing this part of the science. Okay. And I've done a lot of study and research of my own material, and try and tell them about what actually happens in science. Okay, what is the logic behind doing a bypass surgery, and why, if it doesn't help so many people, why it doesn't help so many people? And what is the logic behind doing a certain thing, or this medicine and that medicine, and what alternatively can be done? So that this is a program where we give an insight into all that. But it's a pretty well-designed residential program with a lot of fun element added to it. This thing, so to make it very easy and lively and more acceptable to people, so that once they get convinced, okay, yes, this is something which they want to adopt, or they can, then they can go for some higher level programs.
Yeah.
We have one center in Ooty, which is in about a 7-acre land. We have about 60 cottages. So primarily we were doing Utsav programs there. But now, since about a year, because of the lockdown, the centers are not open. So we are now shifted that base to Bangalore. We are doing it in our center only.
Okay.
Before you ask the next question, may I request the permission of the general body to extend the meeting by a few minutes, please? Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah.
Sir, yoga is an important topic, right? We know that it's big. We know the benefits of yoga. We know the different types of it that people are wanting to practice and they're practicing. Tell us the kind of impact that you have seen yoga has had over people's mental well-being, because I think mental well-being is completely correlated to your physical well-being as well. So with regard to a person who has initially started yoga versus a person who is, who has been practicing yoga at least for a year or two, what difference do you see over there?
In fact, there's a lot of misunderstandings around yoga.
Okay.
About what has been perceived by people, or what has been projected about yoga, and that's why you have things like this hot yoga and that yoga and power yoga and all that. Yoga is actually not meant for that. Yoga was never a substitute for your physical activity. Physical activity was incidental, because unless you don't have a very strong body, if you don't have a healthy body, then you cannot get into the right practices. Without a healthy body, you cannot meditate. Without a healthy body, you cannot do pranayama properly. So the start point was a healthy body. And that's why they gave a little importance to the body. But what has happened right now is that it has got stuck up there. And it has not moved beyond that. But I can tell you, this is the only science where it can take care of all your needs in life, 360 degrees, because it's such a deep and insightful thing. Yes, few things which I see on the face of it, irrespective of what kind of yoga you follow, is that if you are consistent in your efforts, it shows results. It brings in a lot of discipline, one. Second, like what we focus here, and what I mentioned earlier also, the rhythm of the breathing is most important in life. And that's where we see a lot of people not doing it right. And that's where, like we see on TV and everywhere, they have about 5,000, 10,000 people and everybody start breathing. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't happen that way. It's a simple exercise, which probably, when Neetu had gone to South Korea as a part of Incredible India in Seoul, then somebody asked her this question, okay, now people are teaching in TV, 5,000 people. So what do you have to say about that? She just told them one task. Okay, everybody just lift your hand. And probably we also can do that. Everybody just lift your hand. So everybody in the hall just lifted their hand. Then she told, okay, just look around you. Okay, is everybody hand the same way? Lifted the same way? No. If there are 100 people, it is 100 different directions. A simple instruction like just lift your hand cannot convey the right meaning. Imagine what, like a complicated breathing pattern or a complicated asana, how will they perceive that? And if they don't do it in the right perspective and the right way, in fact, forget it doesn't not good. Sometimes it can do harm also. Right. So it has to be very, very individualized one, and it's to be taken care of. So when we say breathing is the rhythm of the breathing is a very, very important aspect of yoga. So once that comes into mind, then it starts creating a lot of changes in your mind. See, people say, okay, I'm feeling very anxious, I'm feeling very stressed out, so tell me something, I should not feel stressed out, I tell them, okay, see, everyone in the world knows okay, anger is wrong, but still, has anybody able to give up that? No. Why? Because in that, your focus is still on anger. Your focus is still on anxiety. Your focus is still on stress. So once you focus on that, how will it ever go away? So you don't need to focus on that. You need to do something which will influence it indirectly. And the only thing which influences our mind directly or indirectly is our breath. And that's why we call it as pranayama. See, whenever we feel very excited or this thing, when we are, our breathing increases naturally. When we are very depressed, our breathing rate will go down. That's your mind controlling your breath. But it can be the reverse way also. Because breathing is voluntary, you can control it. So by doing it in the right way, it can influence your mind. Truly. And that's where we focus on. That's how we focus on. Yes, this is under your voluntary control. Mind is not under your voluntary control. So you have to influence your mind with your breath. And once you get your breath right, the rhythm right, then it can create tremendous changes in your mind. Automatically things will happen. You don't even have to try and think about it. And you will see the changes. Okay. See, for removing out negatives from your life, you don't have to focus on them. You just have to add positives to it. Because at any given point in time, only one thing can occupy one place. Correct. So once you put the positive, then negative will have no place for it. It will automatically go away from there.
That's a really interesting takeaway, sir. I think, a lot of our listeners are also in agreement to you, because I'm getting comments saying that all of what you've said is very simply and very clearly understood by everybody. And I think that is a huge success.
In fact, we say in our logo also, we say experience and realize. Okay, don't believe because I am telling you. I will tell you anything because I want to sell PIYAS to you. I want to sell PIYAS concept to you. I will tell you anything. Don't believe me. You come here, experience, and you realize yourself. So even our logo says experience and realize. Don't just blindly believe us or don't let you. But once you experience it the right way and you realize it, then it becomes 100% a part of you. Otherwise, what you listen intellectually, what from here and there, doesn't stay with you because it's not your experience. It's only at an intellectual level. It has not gone at the wisdom level. So it's just knowledge. To the extent that in our center, we don't even give any single asana or pranayama by name also. We never ever tell them, okay, you do this pranayama, you do this. No, you do this breathing, and we demonstrate that. We are not bothered about the nomenclatures. We are bothered of them getting it right. But that's more important.
I think that truly shows how focused you are on the individual and how you're willing to sort of do everything to cure the person, and then the condition that they come along with, and not just the condition itself. So thank you, sir. That's a great takeaway for all of us. If there are any other questions for the audience, I would request them to sort of put it in the chat. But otherwise, I would like to hand over the mic to the president, Mr. Ravi Narasimhan, again. But thank you so much, sir. Thank you for spending a lot of time with us to explain to us very clearly about all that you did. And I thank Rotary Bangalore Cantonment once again for having given me the opportunity to interview Dr. Bolar today. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for this opportunity, for sharing some of my thoughts with you all. I mean, though it's an endless topic, but I'm sure, I'm not sure, I hope I'm being able to add some insight or some value to whatever was supposed to be done.
May I thank you so much. It's been a pleasure hearing you all over again in a different context. We've only been running an entity which was focused on allopathic health, but this is a different take, which I really enjoyed.
But I owe a lot to Mr. Ravi Narasimhan, because I started my career in pathology from Jubilee Damdak, and I was there for around more than 15 years with him. And that's where actually I grounded myself in Bangalore and a strong footing, and that's where I took off from. So, and that's been my training ground, and we still take pride in being a part of Jubilee Camdak. I mean, once a Jubileite, ever a Jubileite.
Thank you so much for those wonderful words. We should have possibly put this also on the Jubilee Jewels group. Have had a lot more. But anyway, we have a YouTube thing, which I'm sure we'll put that there. If there are any questions from the audience, I'll be very happy to throw open the floor to the audience. Anybody who wants to.
I have one question, Ravi.
Any questions?
I have one question. Shivdev.
Shivdev, yeah, please go ahead.
My video is not working, I'm sorry.
Doesn't matter.
Doc, what's your take on the COVID vaccines? Now that's become a hot topic. You said about treating COVID patients, and you said your in-laws didn't take any vaccines and all this. Now, what is your personal take on the vaccine, and how can people get over this?
See, if you ask me personally, for that's a family which has followed naturopathy for the last 70 years. And they have taken it to one extreme, and they are doing it. So, but it's the same thing I wouldn't recommend to anybody who is new into this particular science. I mean, they have to little ingrain into it, and then they have to get their body ready for it and stuff like that before they actually take this decisions. Right now, in a pandemic situations, it's always safe to be vaccinated. But yes, with the thing being debatable, how much usefulness of it is there, that's a debatable thing. Any vaccine as of now, till now, what we know, whether it's Hib or pneumococcal vaccine or anything, any vaccine for respiratory viruses have got a very, very limited life. It doesn't go beyond 1 or 2 years, and COVID is going to be the same. So the protection is not lifelong. It's very, very limited protection. But at least at this point in time, it might be not a bad idea to go for it, to keep yourself safe to that extent, unless we have a very different reasons for it. Like if you ask me, I have not taken vaccine now, but I have my own reasons and other things for it. But I wouldn't recommend, if somebody asks me as a medical doctor, I wouldn't recommend that to others. But yes, depending on an individual situation, after learning about them and knowing about them, because I've developed a very good antibody load last year itself, and I still continue to have a very good antibody load, which probably a vaccine also wouldn't have given me that way. So in short, I think if it is available and possible, you should take it.
I've already taken it. Thanks.
Good. So if there are no further questions, may I now invite Rotarian TV Mohan to come in and propose the vote of thanks, please.
Yeah, Dr. Mahendra Bolar, it's been a fascinating evening, very inspiring messages. And your own journey from an accidental doctor to a health coach, mentor, and a naturopathist has been very, very simply told us as a lifestyle therapy this evening. We all grew up with the adage that an apple a day keeps the doctor away. And along the way, we lost it to paracetamol and all the other medicines that we were forced to take in our journey of life. But I'm glad that you have focused back on the great mantra of natural living and allowing our body to be the inspiration for our own life and our own lifestyle. One of the things that you said is most wonderful, that health is a very natural state. And you yourself, doctor, are a very lucid example of that. I mean, you exude health. And to believe that your wife's family has had a disease-free generational life for over 70 years without taking any medicines is a great story for all of us. Thank you very much for your wonderful and very incisive explanation of what natural treatments can do for us in this day and age when there's a raging pandemic devouring us all bit by bit. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I must also thank Ravi Narasimhan for having invited Dr. Bolar to give us this wonderful evening. And my evening will not be complete if I don't spend a little bit of praise for Archit Narasimhan, who so deep dived and so incisively brought out the best of Dr. Bolar's message. I think Archit is proving to be our male version of Oprah, and more power to him. Thank you very much. And thank you all Rotarians for listening patiently and so interestedly in Dr. Bolar's message. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohan sir.
Thank you, Dr. Bolar.
I think I found the topic of my next book, The Accidental Doctor.
I bring the 47th meeting to a close.